All right, quick question. How many of you have cracked your phone screen? Show of hands. Yeah, I thought so. Pretty much everyone, right? Now imagine this. A phone that you can drop from an 82-foot building onto concrete. That's like dropping it from the 10th floor. And it still works. Not kinda works. Not damaged, but functional. Completely fine. Makes calls, sends texts, like nothing happened. You're probably thinking I'm talking about some future tech or a concept phone. Nope, this phone exists. It's called the Sonim XP3300 Force. And in 2011, it literally set a Guinness World Record as the toughest phone on the planet. And yet, I guarantee 99% of you have never heard of it. So why isn't everyone using this indestructible beast? What makes it so tough? And why did this absolute tank of a phone disappear while we're all walking around with fragile glass rectangles that shatter if you look at them wrong? Let's dive in. Section 1, the Guinness World Record drop. 82 feet of pure insanity. Let me paint you a picture. September 2011, somewhere in the Netherlands. There's a crane. There's a phone attached to it. And there are Guinness World Records officials standing around with measuring equipment, looking very serious. They dropped this phone from exactly 2529 meters, that's 82 feet and 11.67 inches, onto straight concrete. Not grass, not sand, concrete. The phone hits, bounces, everyone walks over. And here's the crazy part, it's completely operational, no damage. The officials test it on the spot, and it passes every test. The previous record? 3.25 meters, held by the JTB Tough phone from 2008. The Sonim XP3300 beat it by over 22 meters. That's not incremental improvement, that's obliterating the competition. I watched the video of this drop test, and honestly, I was expecting some sort of trick, like maybe there's a special case or padding. Nope, just a bare phone, falling through the air, smashing into concrete at terminal velocity. And it survives. When I first heard about this, I thought, okay, but they probably tested dozens of phones until one finally survived. But according to the company, this phone had been dragged behind boats and quad bikes, driven over by cars, sandblasted, immersed in ice and concrete, and submerged underwater, and it survived all of it. This wasn't a fluke. This phone was genuinely built different. Section 2, what makes it so indestructible? The engineering madness. So how do you build a phone that can survive an 82-foot drop? Because most phones are drop tested to about 3 feet. That's the standard. The XP3300, it laughs at 3 feet. The body. First off, this thing is thick. It measures 25 millimeter thick and weighs 185 grams. For comparison, modern smartphones are like 78 millimeters thick. This phone is more than 3 times thicker, but it's not just about being bulky. The body is reinforced with rubberized corners and edges, the parts that usually take impact first. And it's got Gorilla Glass on the screen, which was cutting-edge protection back in 2011. The phone is IP68 certified, fully protected against dust and water resistant up to 2 meters for an hour. You could literally drop this in a lake, fish it out an hour later, and make a call. Military-grade certification. Here's where it gets serious. MIL STD 8110G compliance. That's military standard certification. The same testing they use for equipment that goes to war zones. This means the phone was tested for salt fog exposure for marine environments, humidity, transport shock, being thrown around in vehicles, thermal shock, extreme temperature changes, vibration resistance. This isn't a consumer phone. This is a tool designed for oil rigs, construction sites, military operations, places where your phone dying isn't just inconvenient, it's potentially dangerous. The Now, here's where reality hits. To make a phone this tough, you sacrifice basically everything else. The screen is 2 inches. 2 inches. With 240/320 pixel resolution. That's smaller than most smartwatch screens today. And the resolution? My old Game Boy had better resolution. It had a 2-megapixel camera. In 2011, the iPhone 4 had a 5-megapixel camera that took way better photos. This camera was basically for documentation, not memories. The battery was 1750 mAh, which sounds small now, but it could last 33.5 days on standby, because the phone did so little that it barely used any power. No touchscreen, physical buttons only, no apps, no social media, just calls, texts, and basic features. Section 3, who actually used this phone, the target market. Here's the thing, this phone was never meant for you or me. We weren't the target audience.
It has the
This was built
GPS
for people
and
whose
the
jobs
camera
would
on the back.
destroy a normal
The phone
in
itself
a week.
physically
Construction workers, oil rig operators, forest workers, extreme environments where dropping your phone 82 feet they dropped this phone from exactly. It's Tuesday. I read about construction companies that would buy these for their entire workforce because they were tired of replacing iPhones
And it still
every
works.
few months.
Not
And in
with
2011,
Sonim,
they got a
literally
3-year
set a Guinness World
comprehensive
Record
warranty
as
the toughest
unheard
phone
of
on
in
the
the phone
planet.
industry.
And think about it. If you're working on an oil rig in the North Sea and you drop your phone from a platform into metal machinery, you need it to survive. I guarantee
Your phone isn't
99%
just for
of you
scrolling
have
TikTok.
never heard
It's your
of it. Communication lifeline, your safety device, your GPS.
For
There were also
comparison,
emergency
modern
responders,
smartphones are
military personnel, and extreme sports enthusiasts using these. People who couldn't afford to have their phone die in critical situations. The push-to-talk feature, one feature that was huge for this market. Push-to-talk. Like a walkie-talkie built into a phone. Survives. You could
When I first heard about
communicate
this,
with your
I
team
thought,
without dialing numbers.
when I first heard
or
about
waiting
this,
for calls to
I
connect. For construction crews or security teams, this was invaluable. No damage. Press a button. The officials test it on the spot. Everyone hears you, and it passes every. Section 4. Why it disappeared. The smartphone killed the tank. So if this phone was so tough and filled a real
can also be
need,
dropped from
why
2
don't we
meters
see
onto
them
concrete.
anymore?
Fully
The
aware-
answer is depressingly simple. Smartphones took over everything. The app ecosystem. All walking
By
around
2011,
with fragile glass
the
rectangles
iPhone and
that
Android
shatter
phones
if you
had
look at them
app
wrong.
stores
With hundreds of thousands
Let's dive
of
in.
apps. Section you could do everything on a smartphone. GPS navigation, email, document editing, photography, social media, banking. It's called the Sonim XP3300 case. It could make calls and send texts. Nope, that's just a bare phone. Even in industrial settings, people started wanting smartphones because they needed to access work emails, use specialized apps, or take detailed photos for documentation. Driven over by cars, the toughness didn't sandblasted, matter if the phone immersed in ice and concrete. The case industry, around the same time, companies like OtterBox started making heavy-duty cases for iPhones and Android phones. Suddenly, you could have a smartphone that was reasonably tough with a good case, and you didn't have to sacrifice all the features. Sure, a cased iPhone isn't surviving an 82-foot drop. A phone that you can drop
most people
from
don't drop their phones
building
from
onto
82
concrete.
feet.
That's
They
like drop them from pocket height. And for that, an OtterBox is good enough. Consumer priorities shifted. By the mid-2010s, people cared more about cameras, screen size, and apps than durability. We collectively decided we'd rather have a beautiful, fragile phone and just be careful with it, or accept cracked screens as the price of modern life. It's called the Sonim XP3300 represented
Force.
peak durability
And in
with
2011
rubberized corners
also peak
and
sacrifice.
The
And in
parts
2024
that usually take
almost
impact nobody
first.
wants to make that trade-off. And Section 5, the legacy, rugged phones today. And
now,
why did this
Sonim
still
still
exist?
tank of a phone
They still make rugged
disappear
phones
while we're
held
all
by they've adapted
Got
tough.
the
Their
Sonim
newer phones
XP
are
Pro
smartphones
5G.
with
Specify
Android
rugged
touch
device, it's
screens
gonna be
and
drop-proof,
apps
shock-proof,
just built tougher
waterproof.
than average.
We have
Also,
the
there's
Sonim
also cat
XP3
phones.
Plus
Yes, like the
5G.
construction equipment company.
This represents
Samsung
the
All right, so
Galaxy
here's what's
X cover
going
series.
on.
These
Samsung
rugged
was
smartphones
originally
that try
expected
to bridge
to
the gap.
drop the Galaxy
Tough
X
enough
Cover
for
8
job
next,
sites,
but
smart
surprise,
enough for
they've
modern
taken a little
people.
detour and
Here's the thing, which was
none of them
cutting-edge
are as
protection
indestructible
back in
as the
2011.
XP3300
The phone is
Force.
IP68 certified.
They're compromises,
fully protected against
tougher
dust
than a
and
regular
water
phone,
resistant,
up
but
to
not
2
surviving
meters
an
for an
82-foot drop tough. You could literally
We've
drop
moved
this in
away
a
from
lake,
maximum
dish it out an
durability
hour
to
later,
acceptable
and make
durability.
it haul. Not
Military
saying
honestly,
honestly, concrete.
for most people,
the phone hits,
that's fine.
Bounces.
I've never dropped my phone
Everyone
from
walks
higher than
over.
5 feet.
And here's the crazy,
but they
XP3300
probably tested
was
dozens of
overkill
phones
for
until
99%
one
of
finally
users.
survived.
But there's something
But according to the
beautiful about
company,
overkill.
this phone had
about
been dragged
engineering
behind
something to
boats
be
and
the
quad
absolute
bikes,
best at
driven
one
over by
thing,
cars,
consequences,
sandblasted
dams,
immersed
it's
in
the
ice.
Sonim
XP3300 Force was the toughest phone
and
ever
in
made.
2011
and
it
probably
probably
always
set a
will
Guinness
be,
World Record
because nobody's
as the
trying
toughest
anymore.
phone on the planet.
Conclusion: look, I'm not saying we should all go back to using 2-inch screens and 2-megapixel cameras. That would be insane. Modern smartphones are incredible pieces of technology that fit entire computers in our pockets. But sometimes I think about the Sonim XP3300 Force
It can also be
and what it
dropped from 2
represented.
meters onto
The
Falling
idea
through
that a
the air,
phone could be
smashing
truly
into
indestructible
concrete,
at terminal
that you could
velocity,
throw it off a building and it would
and
be
it
fine.
survives.
That
When I first
durability
heard about
could be the
this,
priority.
I thought,
We live in a world
okay,
of planned
but they
obsolescence
probably
and
tested
fragile
dozens
glass
of phones
rectangles
until one finally
and
survived.
maybe that's just how it has to be.
But according to the company,
But it's nice to
this
know
phone
that
had been
once
dragged behind
someone made a
boats
phone
and
that
quad
could
bikes,
survive anything.
driven over by
A
cars,
phone that laughed at
sandblasted,
falls,
shrugged
immersed
off
in
water,
ice and
kept
concrete,
working no
and
matter
submerged
what you put it
underwater.
through.
The
And it
toughest
survived
phone
all of
ever
it.
made.
This wasn't
certified
a
by Guinness.
This phone was
and almost
genuinely
nobody
built different.
remembers it.
Section if this video made you want to wrap your current phone in bubble wrap, hit that like button. Drop a comment telling me the worst drop your phone has survived or didn't survive. And subscribe to Tech Underhood, because we're digging up the forgotten tech that pushed boundaries and broke records. See you in the next one. And maybe be a little more careful with your phone. It's called the
not an
Sonim XP3300
Force.